Have you ever had someone say something so cruel, so humiliating, that the whole room freezes? And have you ever watched it happen to your own kids, right in front of you, when you least expect it? And one more thing, what would you do if someone in your own family tried to break your children on Christmas Eve? My name is Harlow Jameson. I'm 34 years old, a senior financial analyst, and if you ask my family, the quiet one who never quite made it. Cute, right? Christmas Eve at my parents' house in Boulder, Colorado is supposed to feel warm. String lights, cinnamon candles, snow piling up softly outside. A night that feels safe. A night for kids to be excited, not destroyed. But this year, my older brother Evan decided to turn the holiday into a battlefield. Snow was still falling when my 10-year-old twins Liam and Lila were crouched by the Christmas tree, comparing which gift they hoped Santa would bring tonight. The fireplace was crackling, the kitchen smelled like caramelized ham, and everyone had mugs of hot cocoa, except me, because I was too busy making sure the twins didn't knock over Grandma's antique nativity set. That's when Evan, golden boy, self-proclaimed family success story, walked over with a bourbon in one hand and that stupid smirk he always wears when he's about to ruin something. He bent down to my kids, loud enough for every ornament on the tree to hear, and said, "Kids, you know why Santa brings you small gifts every year? Because your mom never accomplished anything big. She's the family failure. Been that way since we were kids." Time stopped. Lila's smile vanished first. Then Liam's eyes went wide, trembling like he'd been punched in the stomach. The room fell painfully silent. Even the Christmas music seemed to choke out mid-note. I didn't scream. I didn't shove Evan. I didn't even blink. I just watched my children break for a split second, and that was enough to break something in me. Lila's lip quivered. Liam's little fists curled. Both of them looked up at me, terrified, confused, betrayed. I slowly knelt, pulled them close, and whispered, "Hey, nothing he said is true. Not one word." But inside, my pulse was absolutely roaring. Before I go deeper into what happened next, hold on. I want to know something. What are you doing right now while hearing my voice? Are you cooking? Wrapping gifts? Lying in bed? Tell me in the comments. I love reading your answers. Because what happened next? Hoo boy, you're gonna want to sit down for it. I stood up, took my twins by the hands, and walked straight out the front door into the cold Christmas Eve night. Snowflakes stuck to their hair. Their little breaths puffed out like smoke. They didn't say a word on the drive home, just stared out the windows, hurt settling into them like frost. Halfway down our street, Liam finally whispered, "Mom, is Uncle Evan right? Are we embarrassing to the family because of you?" That shattered me. I parked the car, reached back, and pulled both of them into my arms as tight as the seatbelts allowed. "Listen to me," I said, looking them dead in the eyes. "You are not embarrassing, and I am not a failure. I've been quiet about some things, big things, but after tonight, I'm done being quiet. Not just for me, for you." They exchanged confused looks. They didn't know yet, but they were about to. Because Evan, my arrogant bourbon-soaked brother, forgot one very important detail. Everything he flaunts, the house, the business, the cars, I'm the one who actually owns it all. And tomorrow morning, on Christmas Day, he's going to learn that the hard way. The minute we walked into our small townhouse, warm lights glowing, the Christmas tree still blinking softly in the corner, the twins went straight to the couch. They sat shoulder to shoulder, knees pulled up, silent in that way kids get when they're trying not to cry again. I hung up my coat, took a breath, and sat across from them. "Okay," I said gently. "Talk to me. I'm listening." Lila finally cracked first, voice wavering. "Mom, why does Uncle Evan hate you so much?" I swallowed hard. If only they knew. "He doesn't hate me," I said. He hates the idea of not being the biggest star in every room. Liam frowned. But he said you never did anything. I smiled softly, but there was steel underneath it. Sweetheart, sometimes the people who brag the loudest are covering up the biggest secrets. They didn't understand yet, but they soon would. I stood, walked to my bedroom, opened the top drawer, and pulled out something I hadn't touched in years, a black leather binder with a gold clasp. It felt heavier than I remembered, like the past itself was pressing on it. I sat back down. The twins leaned in, confused. Is that, like, your old report cards? Lila asked. I couldn't help laughing. No, baby. This is something bigger. I flipped open the binder. Inside were documents I knew by heart. Corporate filings, wire confirmations, stock transfer agreements, legal memos, and a stack of signed letters with Evan's name on them, all locked under a non-disclosure contract he'd begged for years ago. Liam's eyes widened. What's all that? I exhaled slowly. This is the real story. The one Evan never wanted anyone to know. I tapped the first page. Jameson Equity Holdings, 68% controlling share. Lila blinked. What's that mean? It means, I said, that I own 68% of your Uncle Evan's entire company. They both gasped in perfect stereo. Liam leaned forward. Wait, you own it. Not him. Not him, I confirmed. Not even close. The shock on their faces was almost comical if it weren't so heartbreaking. For 10 years, 10 long years, I'd kept that secret buried because Evan had been desperate. The truth. He had driven the company straight into the ground. Bad investments, illegal side deals, gambling habits he swore he'd grow out of. Payday loans, unpaid taxes, payroll he couldn't meet, vendors threatening to sue, investors ready to pull out. And one snowy night in February, he had shown up on my doorstep shaking, crying, terrified. Harlow, he had begged, if the business collapses, the whole family will blame me. They'll say I'm worthless. I need your help. Please. I can't let them think I'm a failure. Funny how fast that tune changed over the years. I remember standing in my doorway that night, watching him fall apart, realizing I had the money to save him, the money I'd built quietly, slowly, dollar by dollar since my 20s. And I did save him. I put up the funds, structured the rescue, hired an attorney, executed the contracts, all under the agreement that my ownership would stay hidden. Evan insisted on that clause. He didn't want anyone to know he'd been bailed out by the little sister who never had her life together. That line hits differently now, huh? Back in the present, Liam whispered, why didn't you ever tell anyone? I brushed a hand through his hair. Because sometimes, keeping the peace means staying quiet, and I thought protecting the family's image was more important than proving a point. Lila bit her lip. But Mom, he hurt us. Tonight. He hurt us really bad. That right there, that was the moment something inside me snapped clean in half. I closed the binder. You're right, I said. And tomorrow morning, he won't get the chance to hurt you ever again. Both twins straightened, watching me like I was a superhero gearing up. What are you gonna do? Liam whispered. I stood, walked to the window, and stared at the snow falling outside. Quiet, steady, relentless. I'm going to his company's Christmas Day board meeting, I said. And I'm going to tell the truth. Every last bit of it. The twins stared at me like they couldn't breathe. But Mom, Lila said, won't he freak out? Oh, I whispered with a slow, cold smile. He'll do more than freak out. He'll realize he never had the power he thought he did. I turned back to them. You two are coming with me. Their jaws dropped. But why us? Liam asked. Because, I said, I want you to see exactly what happens when a bully finally gets hit with the truth. The room went still. Outside, snow kept piling up, soft, innocent, beautiful. Inside, everything was about to change. Because tomorrow, on Christmas morning, Evan is going to learn that the girl he called a failure is the one who owns his entire empire. And trust me, he's not ready for what comes next. Christmas morning in Boulder is usually peaceful. Soft snow, kids ripping open gifts, cinnamon rolls in the oven, holiday movies humming in the background. But not in my house. Not today. Today felt like the calm before a storm the whole city could probably sense. The kids were up before sunrise, not with excitement, but with this electric kind of nervous energy. Liam kept checking the clock. Lila kept readying her snow boots even though we weren't leaving for another hour. I poured hot chocolate for them, extra marshmallows, because today they deserved a small miracle. They sat at the kitchen island, swinging their feet, watching me like I was about to pull off a bank heist. Mom, Liam finally said, are you sure we should go? Like, won't everyone stare at us? I leaned on the counter, meeting his eyes. Baby, they can stare. They can whisper. They can judge. But today, they're not the ones with the power in that room. Lila twirled a marshmallow in her cup. But it's Christmas. I softened a little. I know, sweetheart, but sometimes the truth doesn't wait for the perfect day. And sometimes the people who spent years hurting others deserve to be held accountable on a day they thought they controlled. The twins exchanged looks, the kind siblings give when they know life is shifting forever. By 9 a.m., we were bundling up, coats, gloves, scarves, the whole winter armor. The sky was bright, the snow nearly blinding. The air so cold it felt like it could crack in your hands. As we walked to the car, Liam muttered, Uncle Evan's gonna lose his mind. I didn't respond. Because, he was gonna do more than lose his mind. He was about to lose everything. The drive to Evan's corporate headquarters took 20 minutes, straight through downtown where families carried wrapped gifts, restaurants glowed warm, street musicians played carols. But my stomach, tight. My heartbeat, a steady drumline. The building was tall and glassy, reflecting the snowy mountains like a postcard. Too bad what was waiting inside wasn't nearly as pretty. The parking lot was half full, executives' cars lined up like nervous soldiers. The company logo, Evan's surname printed tall and proud, gleamed under the winter sun. Lila whispered, Mom, do you think he already knows something's happening? Oh, he definitely feels it, I said. People like Evan always smell trouble when it's headed their way. But he has no clue it's me holding the fuse. We walked through the front doors. The lobby was quiet, eerily so for Christmas Day. A massive tree stood in the center, decorated with gold ribbons and fake snow. A receptionist in a red sweater blinked when she saw us. Hi, Ms. Jameson, she stammered. Mr. Randall said to send you straight up. The board is waiting. Liam whispered, Dang, that was kinda dramatic. I smiled. Oh kid, that was nothing. The elevator ride felt like ascending to judgment. 19 floors. 19 floors of memories of things Evan stole, bragged about, manipulated, and lied through. 19 floors before everything flipped. The doors opened to a long hallway lined with awards. Every plaque had Evan's name on it. Lila frowned. He really does put his name everywhere, huh? Yeah, I said. But names don't mean anything without the truth behind them. We reached the boardroom. The glass doors were already open. Inside sat 7 board members, some nervous, some curious, some pretending they weren't dying to know why the nobody sister had walked in on Christmas morning with 2 kids in tow. At the head of the table sat Evan. Blue suit, slick hair, fake smile. A man so sure of his own greatness, he never noticed the floor cracking beneath him. His eyes locked on me, and that smile dropped like a stone. "Harlow," he said slowly, "what the hell are you doing here?" Before I could speak, his gaze snapped to the twins. "You brought them to a board meeting? On Christmas? Seriously?" Oh, he had no idea. I pulled out the black binder and set it on the table. Loud, intentional, like a gavel. The room froze. Evan's face drained. Recognition flickered. "No," he whispered. "Harlow, don't. Please." But I was done letting him write the story. I took my seat. Liam and Lila sat on either side of me, their small hands gripping mine under the table. I opened the binder to page 1, the page that changed everything. "Good morning," I said calmly. "We have a lot to discuss." Evan stood abruptly. "Actually, no we don't. This meeting is over." One of the directors cut him off sharply. "Sit down, Evan. We all received the documents last night. We're hearing her out." Documents. Oh yes, the board had already seen everything. Evan turned ghost white. My twins watched him crumble, eyes wide, like they were witnessing karma walk into a room wearing my face. And trust me, the real show was just getting started. Because the next words out of my mouth, they were going to blow the entire room into chaos. And Evan knew it. Evan didn't sit. He hovered, jaw clenched, eyes wild, like a man watching the last Jenga block wobble before the whole tower collapses. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't rush. I didn't even blink. I simply turned to the board members and said, 4 years ago, your CEO came to me at 2 in the morning crying on my porch. He wasn't drunk. He wasn't angry. He was terrified. Evan slammed a hand on the table. "Stop. Right now." I kept going, calm as fresh snow. He told me he'd lost millions, that the company was weeks away from defaulting on its loans, that payroll was short, that the IRS had already issued 2 warnings, that he had, what were your exact words, Evan, accidentally gambled away most of the company's operating reserves. A soft gasp rippled through the room. One board member muttered, "Jesus Christ." Evan lunged toward me like he might snatch the binder, but 2 directors stood simultaneously, blocking him with a kind of synchronized disappointment only rich old men can pull off. I flipped the binder to another page. Wire confirmations. All 9 of them. On that night, I continued, I agreed to save the company. On one condition, that he sign over controlling interest to me. 68%. Which he did. A woman on the board, a sharp-looking VP with glasses that probably cost more than my car, leaned forward. And the non-disclosure agreement? I nodded. His request. He didn't want the world to know the family failure bailed him out. The room fell silent again. But this silence wasn't shock anymore. It was anger. Cold, corporate, legal anger. The kind that ruins people in tailored suits. Evan finally snapped. He stormed around the table, pointing a shaking finger at me. You think you can walk in here with your little binder and embarrass me in front of my own board? You think they care about your sob story? He turned to the directors. Tell her she can't just take my company because she feels like playing CEO. One director coughed awkwardly and held up a stack of printed emails. We, already verified everything she sent us. Another board member tapped the table with a pen. I don't think you understand, Evan. This isn't her trying to take your company. She already owns it. Evan looked around the room like he'd stepped into someone else's nightmare. This is insane, he whispered. She's lying. She's manipulating you. I slowly spun the binder toward him. Page 7, I said. Your signature. He stared at it. His face went pale. You tricked me, he whispered. No, I said. You begged me. I just didn't let you drown. Liam tugged on my sleeve and whispered, Mom, he looks like he's gonna explode. He wasn't wrong. Evan's hands balled into fists. His eyes were bloodshot. His breathing turned into these desperate, sharp inhales like he was trying not to collapse. You can't do this, he rasped. I built this company. With my money, I corrected softly. And my legal agreements. And my silence. The VP with the expensive glasses cleared her throat. Ms. Jameson, she said, as majority owner, do you wish to put forth a motion regarding leadership? I nodded. Yes. I moved to remove Evan Jameson from every executive position effective immediately. Evan's head snapped up. No. No. Over my dead. Seconded, one director said. Third. Another. Fourth. Another. It took less than 10 seconds. Hands went up around the table. 6 out of 7. Majority ruled. The VP wrote on her legal pad, then looked up calmly. Motion passes. Evan Jameson is removed. Evan staggered backward like he'd been shot. You can't do this, he choked out. Harlow, I'm your brother. I stood slowly, leveling my voice so the kids heard it clearly. You stopped being my brother the moment you looked my children in the eyes and told them I was worthless. The room was dead quiet. Security appeared at the door, 2 officers in black coats, professional, stone-faced. Mr. Jameson, one said, we need you to leave with us. Evan took a step back, shaking his head violently. No. No, this is wrong. This is rigged. This is... But when he turned to the board, no one met his eyes. Not one. He realized then. He was finished. The officers moved in, gripping his arms, guiding him out as he kicked and cursed and shouted things he'd regret long after today. The twins watched every second of it. Every shout. Every stumble. Every moment he lost the empire built on lies. When the doors shut behind him, the room let out a collective breath. The VP turned to me. Ms. Jameson, she said, you now have the floor to discuss next steps. I exhaled. Finally. But before I could speak, Liam whispered, Mom, what happens now? Oh, baby boy, what happens now? Now we rebuild everything Evan destroyed. But what happens next? Oh, that's the part they're really not ready for. Because Evan wasn't the only one hiding secrets. And the next revelation? It's going to flip this entire story upside down. The boardroom was dead silent after Evan's screaming faded down the hallway. The kind of silence that feels heavy. Like the room itself knows something irreversible just happened. Lila squeezed my hand. Mom, is it over? I looked down at her, my sweet, anxious little girl, and I wished the answer was yes. But no, not even close. I turned to the board, taking a slow breath. Okay, I said. Now we talk about what really needs to be fixed. The VP adjusted her glasses. Ms. Jameson, based on the documents you provided, the financial damage appears extensive. That's putting it nicely, one director muttered. Another sighed. Your brother hid the numbers better than we realized. Offshore transfers, unreported debt, vendor disputes. This thing is a powder keg. I nodded. Exactly. And before you panic, I've already planned for this. 7 heads snapped toward me like I had just spoken in ancient Greek. You planned for this? The VP asked. I gave a half smile. Let's just say I know my brother better than most. Evan screws up loudly, but he covers it up quietly. I learned to anticipate both. I opened the binder again, flipping past the ownership section, past the wire confirmations, to another cluster of documents I'd prepared years earlier and prayed I'd never have to use. Liability maps, debt restructuring plans, vendor negotiation templates. A full breakdown of where the company would be if Evan ever lost control again. I slid it across the table. This, I said, is how we stabilize everything he broke. One director blinked. You're telling me you built an emergency blueprint? For 4 years, I said, in case today ever came. The VP slowly sat back in her chair. Harlow, do you understand what you've done here? I do, I said. Better than you know. The twins stared up at me like I had just revealed I was secretly Batman. But before I could continue, the conference room doors opened. Not with force. Not with drama. With hesitation. A woman stepped inside. Mid-50s, gray coat, trembling hands. My mother. Her eyes were red, her face pale, her voice small. Harlow, sweetie, can I talk to you? My heart dropped into my stomach. Not now. Not today. Not right when I found my footing. Mom, I said carefully, this is a closed meeting. We're in the middle of... It's Evan, she blurted. He called me from the parking lot. He said you destroyed his life on Christmas. He said you came here to ruin him. The board members exchanged uncomfortable glances. She stepped closer. Harlow, you didn't really do this, did you? Tell me this is some misunderstanding. Liam flinched. Lila leaned into me. I clenched my jaw. Mom, he did this to himself. She shook her head, tears brimming. That's your brother. Your own blood. You can't tear apart your family like this. My hands tightened into fists at my sides. Funny how she didn't care when he tore my kids apart. Lila whispered, barely audible. Grandma, he called us embarrassing. Mom didn't even look at her. Not once. Her eyes stayed on me, pleading, blaming, desperate. Harlow, please. Undo this. Give him the company back. You don't need it. Let him have it. He's always been the stronger one. Liam jerked like he'd been stung. The stronger one? The room went ice cold. I stepped closer, voice low, steady, controlled. Mom, Evan didn't just insult me. He crushed your grandchildren on Christmas Eve. He gambled away millions. He almost bankrupted the company. He's been lying to you for years. She closed her eyes. I don't care about any of that, she whispered. He's my son. I felt something inside me crack cleanly in two. I wasn't surprised. Not really. But damn, it still hurt. Okay, I said finally. If you want to talk to him, go ahead. But you need to leave this room. Right now. She looked stunned. Harlow. This is business, I said firmly. And I'm done being treated like the family disappointment. She backed away slowly, eyes wide with something between fear and disbelief. Harlow, you're not the person I thought you were. I met her gaze. No, I said softly. I'm stronger. She left. The doors closed with a soft click. The VP exhaled. Well, that was intense. I turned back to the table. We proceed, I said. We fix everything. The directors nodded, one by one. The kids looked at me like I'd just lifted a mountain. But deep inside, I knew something big was coming. Because people like Evan, they don't accept defeat. They retaliate. And sure enough, as I gathered the documents, my phone buzzed. A text message from an unknown number. One single sentence. If you think this is over, little sister, you have no idea what's coming next. Oh, Evan. He had no clue. Because the next thing I was about to uncover, it wasn't about him losing his company. It was about something darker and way more dangerous. The unknown number text sat on my phone screen like a live grenade. If you think this is over, little sister, you have no idea what's coming next. I stared at it for a long second. Evan always threw tantrums, sure. But this wasn't anger. This was a warning. And the chill that rolled through my spine felt like someone cracked open a window to the Colorado winter. Before I could even process, the VP leaned forward. Harlow, everything okay? I slid the phone face down on the table. Yeah, I said. Just Evan being Evan. But inside, I knew better. This wasn't the usual poor me meltdown he performed whenever life didn't go his way. This message had a tone I knew too well. The tone Evan only used when he was desperate. And desperate people do stupid things. We spent the next hour going through the restructuring plan. Debt cleanup timelines. Legal filings. Public statement drafts. Everything that would stabilize the company after his implosion. But even while I explained, laid out charts, clarified numbers, my mind kept drifting back to that text. To the way he said, "Little sister." To the way he'd always said it when he wanted to remind me I was beneath him. The twins sat on either side of me, unusually quiet. Liam kept glancing at the door like Evan might charge back in. Lila kept her small hand over mine. When the meeting finally adjourned, the directors stood and shook my hand, some respectfully, some almost awkwardly apologetic, like they were only now realizing how badly they'd misjudged me for years. We stepped out into the hallway. That's when I saw them. Two security guards sprinting down the corridor toward the stairwell, radios crackling. One shouted into his shoulder mic. He's not in the lobby. Repeat, he's not in the lobby. Check the garage, now. My stomach flipped. Liam whispered, Mom, that's about Uncle Evan, isn't it? I nodded slowly. Yeah, baby. I think it is. Lila gripped the sleeve of my coat. Why is he hiding? What's he doing? I didn't know. And that scared me more than anything. Because Evan hiding wasn't normal. Evan lashing out, yelling, throwing blame? Sure. That was his Olympic sport. But running? No. Running meant he had a plan. Running meant he was up to something. Running meant he wasn't done. We made our way toward the elevator, but when the doors opened, the building manager rushed out, pale as a ghost. Ms. Jameson, thank God, he said, breathless. You need to come with me. My pulse kicked up. What happened? He swallowed hard. There's something you need to see. In the main conference room. I exchanged a worried look with the kids. We followed him down another hallway, one lined with old framed photos of the company's early days. Evan's face plastered in every one of them, smiling fake CEO smiles. The closer we got, the louder the hum in my ears grew. We walked in, and there, spread across the center of the polished wood table, were files. Not my files. Not board documents. These were photocopies. Printed emails, screenshots, bank statements, all labeled in thick red marker. Harlow Jameson. Investigation. My blood ran cold. Lila whispered, Mom, what is this? The building manager ran a shaky hand through his hair. These were left in the stairwell. Someone dropped them. We think Evan planted them. I stepped closer. The files claimed. I forged documents. I illegally seized majority shares. I manipulated company funds. I blackmailed executives. I committed tax fraud. Everything was fake. Every accusation a lie. But the layout, the thoroughness, Evan had spent time creating this. He had prepared for this. He wasn't reacting out of panic. He had been planning a smear campaign against me long before Christmas Eve. Liam's face twisted. He's trying to get you arrested? I nodded slowly. He's trying to flip the story before the truth hits him. The building manager cleared his throat. We haven't opened the envelope yet, but it was addressed to the press office. I froze. The what? The media, he said. Local stations. Reporters. My stomach dropped so fast I felt dizzy. Oh God. Evan wasn't trying to win. He was trying to drag me down with him, even if it meant destroying his own company. Even if it meant humiliating his family. Even if it meant traumatizing my kids again. Lila whispered, horrified. Why is he doing this? Why does he hate you so much? I closed my eyes, because I knew the answer. And it wasn't simple. It wasn't petty. It wasn't even jealousy. It was something darker. Something I had suspected for years but never wanted to believe. I opened my eyes slowly. Kids. Evan hid more than bad decisions. They stared up at me, scared. What do you mean? Liam asked. I looked at the files spread across the table. At the fake accusations. The strategic lies. The manipulation. Your uncle has been covering up something huge, I said quietly. Something he thought he'd never have to face. And now that he's exposed, he's willing to burn down everything to keep it hidden. Lila's voice trembled. Mom, what did he do? I exhaled. Because Evan's worst secret? It had nothing to do with money. And everything to do with why he targeted me in the first place. I stared at the forged files spread across the conference table, my pulse thundering in my ears. The fake accusations. The red-markered lies. The desperation dripping from every page. Liam stepped closer, voice tiny. Mom, what did he do? What's he hiding? I took a long, steady breath. Because if I told them, if I finally said it out loud, everything would change. Come here, I whispered. They stepped into my arms, both of them trembling, both of them trusting me with their whole worlds. I pulled them in, holding them tight as I spoke. Your Uncle Evan always hated me, not because I was a failure, but because I was the only person who knew the truth he spent his whole life running from. I paused. He didn't build this company, not even the early version of it. He stole the idea. The kid's eyebrows shot up. Wait, stole? Liam asked. I nodded. From a coworker, a brilliant engineer named Mark. Mark was quiet, kind, never bragged, and Evan took advantage of that. He took Mark's designs, his tech, his models, everything. And when Mark threatened to go public, Evan paid him off and forced him to sign a non-disclosure agreement. Lila gasped. But that's awful. Why would he do that? Because, I said softly, Evan couldn't stand not being the successful son. He couldn't stand that someone else might be praised, admired, respected. He needed everything to look perfect. And you knew. Liam whispered. Yes, Mark trusted me. He confided in me before he left the company. I helped him get a new job in Denver. But before he moved, he made me swear I would never let Evan hurt anyone else with his lies. The kids looked stunned. But Mom, why didn't you tell Grandma and Grandpa? Lila asked. I let out a shaky breath. Because Mom wouldn't have believed it. She never believed anything that made Evan look bad. To her, he was the golden boy. The twins looked at each other. They finally understood. So Uncle Evan hated you because you knew the truth, Liam said. And because I saved the company he almost destroyed, I added. He hated being indebted to me, hated that I had the power to expose him. Lila touched the forged file with one finger. So he tried to destroy you first. Yes, baby. That's exactly what he tried. Just then, the building manager rushed in again, out of breath. Ms. Jameson, security found him. My heart stopped. Is he still in the building? No, he left. But he hesitated. There's more. He, left a video message. My stomach flipped. Play it. He handed me his tablet with shaking hands. The video opened with Evan sitting in his car, face red, eyes wild. Harlow, he snarled. You think you can walk in and take everything? You think you're the hero? No. You ruined my life, my reputation, everything I worked for. And guess what? I'm not going down alone. He leaned closer to the camera, breath uneven. You want to expose me? Fine. But I'm taking you with me. I'm sending everything to the press. I'm telling Mom you manipulated me. I'm telling everyone you forged documents. I'll make sure the world thinks you're the villain. The video ended. The twins stared at the screen, horrified. Liam's voice cracked. Mom, is he gonna get you in trouble? I knelt in front of both of them. No, because the truth is stronger. The board has the real documents. The lawyers have the real signatures. The contracts are airtight. Lila whispered, So, what do we do now? I smiled, tired, but stronger than I had felt in years. Now? We go home. We celebrate Christmas. And tomorrow, we start fixing the company properly. The building manager cleared his throat. There's one more thing. He held up a sealed envelope. This was found in the stairwell too. But this one's addressed to you. My heart thudded. I opened it. Inside was a single sheet of paper. Handwritten. Shaky. From Evan. I'm sorry. I didn't mean for the kids to get hurt. I just couldn't stand losing again. I exhaled, not relief, not forgiveness, but closure. Kids, I said gently, your uncle needs help. Not power. Not sympathy. Help. They nodded solemnly. Liam asked, Are we ever gonna see him again? I squeezed his hand. Maybe. When he's ready to be a better person. We left the building together, hand in hand, stepping into the cold Christmas Day air. And for the first time in years, the snow felt peaceful again. Our house was warm when we got home. The tree lights glowed softly. The twins curled on the couch with blankets, exhaustion finally catching up to them. I looked at them, really looked at them. My kids. My world. My reason for every fight I'd ever fought. And I understood something in that moment. Evan had spent his whole life chasing success so people would love him. I had spent mine trying to protect the people I loved. And that's the difference between real power and fake power. Real power protects. Fake power destroys. Before the kids fell asleep, Lila whispered, Mom, you're the strongest person we know. I kissed her forehead. No, I said. I'm the person who finally stopped staying quiet. I stood, walked to the window, and looked out at the falling snow, soft, steady, endless. The storm was finally over. But our new life, it was just beginning. Red Heart, if you love this story, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to Silent Revenge Lab. Your support helps us keep bringing these powerful stories to life.